We're really pleased to host this breakfast. I think this is the largest one we've ever had. It's sponsored by our longtime partners, NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. They do a terrific job supporting diversity. They've also won our diversity award in the past, and statistically, I think one of the most diverse organizations we have as members of the IAF. We're pleased to have with us Dr. Lori Leshin, who's the director of JPL. If you don't know what JPL is, you're in the wrong room because they're probably one of the most famous outfits in space in terms of what they've been able to do with rovers and the like. So before I ask Dr. Leshin to take the stage, I want to take a moment to highlight the work that's been done by our IAF IDEA committee that was created just last year. And it's been led by our Tour de Force Vice President, Michelle Ashmimiri, who has really been doing some great work. She's going to come and tell you a little bit about some of the programs and the surveys they've been working on. So Michelle, come on stage.
Every time I speak after Clay, I have to adjust the mic. So good morning, everybody. Thank you, Clay. What I wanted to let you know is I also have difficulty remembering what IDEA stands for, so don't worry about that. So what I wanted to tell you is a little bit about the initiative that we started, that we rolled out before this IAC. And what we did is we created a survey that we wanted all members of the IAF to participate in. These are some of the, actually so far we have about 13 to 14% of the IAF members that participated in this survey, listed over here. The good news is we got 65 responses. Our goal is to get 100%, so over 513 responses. So that's what we're working on. The good news is if you haven't participated or your organization hasn't, we will showcase a QR code, scan it, send it to them. If you are not the person that's supposed to fill it out, send it to the person that's supposed to fill it out. So there's still an opportunity for you to participate. But these are the ones that have responded to the emails that we sent. What we looked at from the responses is each organization shares what their gender and generation questions. We had a questionnaire. The first one is looking at the gender in the overall organization. It looks great, but realistically, once you start dissecting it, you start to see the reality. So then when you get into technical roles, it's not so bad, but I think there's also some misunderstanding. So on the next rollout, we're gonna have a better refinement to get true numbers there. But then when you look at gender in executive roles, that's where it starts to become a real situation, which is the majority are below 20%. So we're trying to push for that. The idea here is not to say, hey, you're not doing good, but hey, this is your baseline. Let's work harder to get to something better by the next year and the year after that and the year after that. Then we looked at the generation. What are organizations doing to facilitate career paths, to facilitate long professional education, and also outreach activities? Looks like the majority of the respondents to this survey are really doing well, and that's a great direction that we're seeing. And then in terms of accessibility, we looked at inclusivity. Does the organization provide access to people with alternative abilities, also cultural awareness training for their employees, and it looks like they're doing pretty good. So we want to hopefully see more of the respondents have this sort of thing and continue to do this. Now, if you haven't participated in the survey, this is an opportunity to scan this and to become a diversity supporter. So if you do this, you will get a sticker, which we will distribute during this breakfast, right after I finish and then Clay comes on stage. We will distribute the certificates to all the organizations that have participated. But once again, I'm gonna tell you for the third time, please tell your organizations to participate. This is the QR code. So it's not like it's either you participated or you're not. The whole point is for us to have this continuously. And every year we're going to send out a new survey, and those who participate will also receive a diversity supporter. So with that, I would like to give the floor to Clay. Thank you so much.
So now it's our pleasure to present to NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory our certificate as our IAF diversity supporter. We have Dr. Leshin, who's the 10th director from JPL, and she's a scientist, and we love the support that we get from you guys. So please come join us on stage.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you all for joining us. My gosh, what a great turnout. There's a few seats up here in the front for people hanging out in the back if you want to come forward. Let's see what happens. Can I put in my my slides? Do I do that or do you do that? Because there's a cool video on the front, so we might as well let that play while I'm getting started. It's wonderful to be here in Milan for the IAF, and thank you so much to Michelle and Clay and the community here who have had such long dedication and support for the idea of DEIA and how important it is to our community. At JPL, we take this extremely seriously, and I am very proud to be in the 87-year history of JPL, the first woman to lead the organization. Thank you. And I stand on some incredible shoulders, and so I will tell you a little bit about that today. You get to see a little bit here of the kind of work that we do at JPL, and so I'm excited to get to share with you a little bit about the laboratory, our history, and some very recent things we've been working on. So when I arrived at JPL a little more than 2 years ago, I thought it was important, this time coming out of the pandemic, this time as we sort of chart our path ahead and forward, to really be clear about who we are and what we do. And so we started with a North Star, and I show this slide every time I speak to groups at the laboratory. Who are we? Why are we here? And really for us, our work at JPL is about the forefront of scientific discovery and benefit to humanity through innovative missions, technology, and research. That's really important. Equally important to us is about inspiring people and enabling the broader STEM ecosystem and space ecosystem like we are all doing here this week at IAF. Together, none of us can succeed alone, right? At JPL, our motto is Dare Mighty Things Together, because we know nothing happens by individuals. It all happens through incredible work of teams and teams of organizations working together. But the last of our North Star elements is about creating a safe, inclusive, exciting workplace where everyone can thrive. And I think it's so essential for all of us to put right up front that none of the good outcomes happen without creating space for everyone to be their best selves, for everyone to thrive at work. And so we are working on that each and every day. We have, although I won't go into the details here, we have a DEIA plan at JPL, and we're working on things like more women in leadership roles. It was great to see those statistics. We've got to keep working on that and doing better. Having more people of color in our engineering and technical roles, and also on creating psychological safety across the organization to make sure that everyone is free to speak up and is a part of our team in their full way. So I want to talk a little bit about the history of the lab. I'm just going to run through this very quickly. Many of you probably know this, but in case you don't, so JPL predates NASA. We actually were founded in 1936, and we were born not from NASA, but from Caltech, a wonderful technological university in California. And like many stories of universities in these days, we had a wonderful group of students and faculty who basically kept blowing things up on campus. And the campus said, why don't you go up in the mountains and get away from campus to do your rocket motor tests? And they went up into the hills above Pasadena, and that's the site of JPL even today. And so this picture of them reclining is from the very first rocket test. This was essentially the founding of JPL. And then we progressed pretty quickly from working on rockets to actually caring about the thing that flies on top of the rocket. And so we're very proud to have built and launched America's very first satellite, Explorer-1, direct response to Sputnik. This was America's response. And so you see they're celebrating, one of my predecessors, the director of JPL, is in that picture celebrating the launch, the successful launch, in January of 1958 of Explorer-1. NASA was founded within 6 months of that, and within a month of NASA being founded, JPL as a laboratory was moved into the agency, and so we have been a part of NASA essentially since its founding. But to look at these pictures, you would think that everyone at JPL looks like that. Even back in those days, you would think that's true. But it's not true. The truth is that women have worked shoulder to shoulder with men on the early successes in the space program since the time of JPL's founding. You all have probably heard of the Hidden Figures or saw the movie or read the book. We have our own version of that at JPL. We had women computers, women mathematicians who, as the guys were calculating or were building the rockets, the women were telling them where to point them. Still happens, yeah. So we had some extraordinarily talented women, again, working shoulder to shoulder. You can see some of them here. The woman in the upper left is plotting the course of our very first interplanetary mission, Mariner 2, in 1962, which flew by Venus. And so again, women have been there from the beginning. Their stories are not always told. You saw Hidden Figures. There's an equivalent book about these women at JPL called Rise of the Rocket Girls. I recommend you pick it up. It's a great book telling the stories of some of these incredible women. So when I stand here today as the first woman director of JPL, I think of these women and the ground they plowed so that women like me and others at JPL can succeed. And today I'm very happy to report that we have over 2,000 women at JPL now, yes. And look, we still have work to do about women in leadership roles, about women in technical leadership, about people of color and diversity of all types across all roles. We are working on that each and every day. But the talent is there. We need to find and cultivate it and enable folks to rise. And so that is our focus. It's very exciting. And I want to show you just a quick video of some of our diversity work at JPL.
I've seen and continue to see historic photos of JPL and the people that worked here in the beginning. Having an imperfect past is fine, but really trying to build a better future is what warms my heart.
There's been a tremendous change over the 45 years I've been at JPL. I first started at JPL in the late 1970s as part of the Voyager team. And there weren't very many women, but over the years I've seen that really change. And now there are many more women in roles across the project, including upper leadership roles.
Young women have really embraced planetary science, also in general, space exploration.
I think one of the things that I really enjoy about JPL is that even as a young engineer, I was always given a seat at the table and listened to.
Any given mission, you find people that are from different countries. I'm originally from Tunisia and I work here.
We find people from all over the world here, and that diversity has been great because I didn't feel that as an immigrant I was something different. There were lots of people like me.
Inclusion is so important to the success of JPL because we need to attract the right people to tackle the issues that we have at hand, to be able to send all of these complex robotics to other planets and moons.
We land rovers on Mars and fly helicopters. Those are not easy things and not things that are written in textbooks. We have to keep pushing the envelope, and we are only going to be able to do that if we have teams that work well together, that feel accepted together, but that can also look at a problem, come at it a different way with a whole different set of experience and bring that to the table.
It takes small microaggressions, small gestures for someone to feel othered, for someone to feel not included or part of the culture and part of the group. And when you don't feel part of the group, it's hard to collaborate.
So it's a teamwork, it's a team effort. All of those led me to see, this is where I want to be. I've been here about 17 years. I really cherished and enjoyed every moment of it.
It's very refreshing and encouraging to see that change. Not only to have more women, but have greater diversity here at JPL.
JPL provides a supportive and nurturing environment all the way from the top. They have these 2 new classes, for example, were released on reducing bias and understanding gender differences at JPL. And by the end of 2020, 86% of managers took one of those 2 courses, which is amazing. Culture and changes start from the top, and that's what JPL is committed to.
I found that people have accepted me for who I am. I mean, I'm not exactly your typical engineer, and I felt comfortable, dyeing my hair again once I started working here and being sort of my, my loud self.
During that time, I had my daughters, and other children were born to Voyager moms. And then working on Cassini, I can bring my grandchildren to see JPL. It's really been a multi-generational journey of exploration.
I consider myself very lucky to have ended up at JPL and to have been here for so many years. It really nurtured me. It offered me tremendous opportunities that I don't think I would have had anywhere else.
Aren't they inspiring? They inspire me every single day. Every person that helps build an inclusive team, and that's everybody at JPL working on those things. So I just want to give a huge shout out to the pioneers who have pushed these concepts forward at the laboratory. The way I like to say it is, we need all the brains. We need all the brains if we are going to be able to continue to push the boundaries of space exploration. And I'm so pleased to get to be here to share with you that
Europa Clipper separation confirmed.
That we
And
have used
there you
all those
go.
brains to do
NASA's
something
Europa
amazing.
Clipper probe, embarking on a long-awaited mission to study Jupiter's icy moon Europa. And what a sight, Mick.
That is absolutely gorgeous, Gerald, to see Europa Clipper on its way, successful deployment from stage 2. Falcon Heavy performed very well today. Teams behind us are clapping and enjoying. That is a beautiful picture.
Via the video,
Yeah.
we can see that Clipper has successfully separated. Please say goodbye to Clipper on its way to Europa.
So yeah. So this extraordinary team has been working on this mission for literally decades. We've been building it for about a decade, but as a scientist, we know these things take much longer to conceive of, to have adopted by the scientific community, get funded, and then to start to design and build. And so these missions, this work that we do, all of the work we do across space exploration, connects us through the generations, right? If you think about this success, I was just in Florida for the launch. After we got power positive, we've now deployed the solar arrays. We're power positive. We turned on the star trackers about 12 hours ago. We found the sun, all good there. The space, yeah, you need that. That's good. Spacecraft is working beautifully. Everything's going great. That doesn't just happen. These missions connect us through the generations, just like the women on that video were talking about being connected over generations. If you think about how a mission like this happens, it really started all the way back in 1979 when Voyager flew past Jupiter, followed by the Galileo mission in the 90s that really showed us that Europa, this incredible moon of Jupiter, was an extraordinary place, likely with a global ocean that contains 2 Earth oceans worth of water. And that's a place we knew we needed to go back to and really explore and understand, is it a place that could have life even today? So that's what Europa Clipper is all about, going to assess the habitability of Europa. And it's just so thrilling after decades of work to get this mission going, to see it launch. And by the way, surviving a hurricane last week, which a bunch of us did in Florida. So that only happens when diverse teams work together to make magic happen. And so I'm just incredibly honored to be able to be up here and representing the the teams of JPL and say thank you to all of you for your commitment to creating diverse, magical teams. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Lori, for that inspiring video and the news on Europa Clipper. I think it's 2030 it gets there? Yes. So come back to the 81st International Astronautical Congress, and we'll see the results of what Europa Clipper. I think it's the largest interplanetary mission NASA's ever launched, too, in terms of volume mass. So really impressive work. And if you haven't visited JPL, I've been there several times. Really worth the visit, and to see the history and what they do up there, really incredible. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. I hope you have a wonderful day today, and keep being more diverse. Thanks.